now talk about the nursing courses, and I really want to just get into these courses. So the two courses that I want to talk about, the Bachelors of Nursing, which you've started off already, and the Competency Assessment Program.
Sure.
Now, I want to start off with the CAP course, which is the Competence Assessment Program, because for those of you that are listening that are registered nurses overseas, you've got your CAP letter from the Nursing Council in New Zealand, and you are looking at getting a CAP offer, we can apply for an exemption for you to be able to travel here. So these people come into that exemption list, and we've in fact got a few people that have got those CAP offer letters, and we're now securing offer letters for them to come and join here in the October intake. Hopefully things and the quarantine facilities open up by then, which is a political agenda, but
yes.
You are in that list. So can you please talk to us about the CAP course? The fees, obviously I don't think there'll be any scholarship, but you're more than welcome to tell us. And the intakes, please.
Okay, so WITT offer the Competency Assessment Program, and this is a 9-week program for nurses who are registered in their home country and have some experience, but more importantly, they have to have a letter from Nursing Council saying that you're eligible to study a nursing competency program in New Zealand. So if you have that, you can apply to WITT for a place. We have an intake starting next month in July. So with nurses in this category now being allowed to enter New Zealand, this has certainly been quite popular. We have got quite a number of students coming for July who are currently in New Zealand, because I think we're one of the few providers still offering it this at the moment. It has been difficult to get places at hospitals, but we have managed to do that. So we do have a July intake. That's pretty full at the moment. The next one is the 31st of August, so that will be another intake, and then we will have another intake, I think in October.
In January. So it's later in October, and then you've got, okay.
Correct. So they are very much in demand. So there is a lot of students wishing to come in and study these programs. But in terms of outcomes, our students get a great outcomes. Nursing is in skills shortage. It is in demand, and the median age for nurses in New Zealand is late 50s. So what it tells me is that a lot of nurses in New Zealand are heading for retirement. So we do need more people to come in and fill those gaps that are going to happen in the next few years. So it's a great time to be thinking about training to be a nurse.
And I think we've seen all of that through COVID and the lockdown period anyways, when we had all the retired people coming back into helping everyone because there weren't enough healthcare professionals in New Zealand. So absolutely, we need to rely on our fantastic migrants and bring the talent from overseas into our lovely country. So on the CAP course, I've got this next question for you. The question says, do you accept clubbing of IELTS or OET scores for the CAP program?
Yes, we do accept clubbing. Yes, we do. For CAP, not for Bachelor of Nursing, but we do accept clubbing for CAP. Yes.
Okay. All right. So those of you that are listening, that are looking at the CAP course, you need to let us know. There are some intakes coming up, and as you just hear, they fill up pretty quickly, so we can move quickly on these. And we are doing some exemptions for other clients, and we're hoping that they can be here as soon as the exemptions start going through. July is very ambitious for overseas people. It's not going to happen. So we're aiming for the October intake with the exemptions. But yeah, we've got people within New Zealand that are qualified overseas nurses that have got registration from overseas, and they are looking at the CAP program, and we're doing that as well. Of nursing program. And so you've got the Bachelors of Nursing program, but what I really want to talk about is the option for them to be able to get a cross credit for prior knowledge and experience.
Yes.
Please talk to us how that works.
Okay, so WITT are very motivated to grow our numbers of nursing students. So we have put a lot of work into looking at cross credits or recognition of prior learning. So we can give up to 1 year's credit, and we've had a number of students start this year who went straight into year 2 of the program. So we're quite happy to look at applications from students who are looking for some recognition of their prior learning. So that's great. We'd love to see those applications.
What sort of profile does a student need to have to be able to qualify for that cross-crediting for up to a year? I understand it's case by case, but what kind of profiles would normally fit the bill?
Sometimes those India diploma holders would be good candidates. So students who've studied somewhere else and can show that what they've studied has an equivalence with our New Zealand program. So the program we teach in New Zealand does have a lot of practical component. So students do have a lot of clinical placements, and that helps the nurse develop that practical experience. So we know that a lot of offshore students will have done theory-based study, and we would be, that would have a lot of potential to line up with our program, I believe. So the program that we teach has a very good success rate. The last 3 years, we've had 100% success with our nurses gaining New Zealand state finals. So that is the process to get New Zealand registration. So pretty amazing. The national standard in New Zealand is, I think, in the mid-80s. So for WITT to have 100% success rate
is quite phenomenal. Absolutely. Yep. I think that's a big accolade. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that.
That's brilliant. With nursing as well, because I know that there's, how long does the whole RPL process take? And the reason why I'm asking is that there are people within New Zealand that are now looking at, their spouses or the wives going back into education. And so if they are looking at sort of maybe the November intake, which I believe is the next intake, how quickly do they need to start admission and then the RPL? So how does that process pan out? If you can just advise us, please.
Yeah, we've got a very good nursing faculty who do the RPLs pretty quickly, but however, I think there's no, the sooner you can start that process, the better. So if you can send your documents to us for us to have a look at, then we can tell you what the likelihood of RPL is. So I think there would be a more formal process once you apply and go through the application process. But to get an idea of what the recognition of prior learning would be, send us your documents, and we're happy to have a look. Yeah.
Brilliant. I've got this next question, which is sort of on that topic, which is around scholarships. I did tell you scholarships are always a very popular topic. So with someone like that, and I know you just said that the scholarship for 7,000 is specific to the July intake only. So I think that's probably what this person's assuming. So is that still applicable if they get a?
The 7,000 is fairly narrow, I guess. It is for first year students. For the July intake, we only have a year 1 intake. Year 2 is not starting until February 2021. So the 7,000 doesn't apply to those students, unfortunately. It's only for the year 1 in July.
So the general scholarship that you talked about, because I'm going to now pick on that question. So leave the 7,000 aside, but the general scholarship that you talked about, I can't remember the amount. But I mean, I think from my perspective, it's not so much a financial aid. It's also a real big motivator for students to be able to know that they've actually got, even if it's $1,000 or $2,000, that the fact that they've been awarded a scholarship is actually quite a big boost, I think. Yes. So if students apply for cross credits.
If they're onshore and they're coming to us, I don't think there's a year 2 intake in November. pretty definite that it's not until 2021. So those students would be eligible for $2,000 regional scholarship. If there's students starting in November, then the $5,000 does apply if you're onshore. But for year 2, I could do some research on that and
no
talk
problem.
to my
That's fine.
teacher.
And we can always communicate to our people via our channel. So, but that's really encouraging to know that there are options, and that WITT is thinking about these people that are genuinely wanting to get into these courses. So.